Hey everyone, this is Kenny Coins with Marathon Money on Global Innovator Series. We have Natalia Sokolova on here. She actually is a managing partner at SGG World and also the president as
Seta.
Sita Corporate,
Correct. Yeah,
correct?
Seta Corp. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
President
corporate
CEO of
out
Seta
in
Corp.
Beverly Hills, California. So also I see that you're a philanthropist and entrepreneur, obviously, single family office and investor.
Mhm.
You
Correct.
you do like early stage tech startups.
Yeah. So our focus has been for the last over a decade, actually, right now, is early stage startups in safety and security sector.
So how did you get started? How does like this become this journey of you pretty much managing two companies and being the president of
Well,
one?
I've always been entrepreneur. Like when I came here to the States as exchange student and started and went to University of Maryland. Originally, I was supposed to go work, with my family up in Europe and with my dad lives in Switzerland with his family office. But after almost, dying in a car accident and being consigned, being in the wheelchair for quite some time, I realized that the life is going to take me a different path that I have to create for myself. So I just kind of like follow the path of my life. And I always been involved with foundation, charitable foundation, good causes. And I love being entrepreneur. So I started pretty early on in my life. I've, had a online marketing company in my 20s. I've bought properties. My first house I bought when I was 24, 25 in Hollywood Hills. So moved to New York, moved around. So it's kind of just been my life. I've been always a go-getter, entrepreneur. I've had ups and downs, like most people, and here I'm at. And about 10 years ago, when I moved to Bay Area about 12 years ago, before coming to Beverly Hills. And then I switched to more technology, obviously being close to Silicon Valley. It's hard not to being entrepreneur. And so that's why for the about over a decade, I've been really focusing on technology. And why safety and security? Because as I was just talking on another podcast, is saying that without safety and security, you cannot enjoy your life. You cannot be protective of your loved ones, your children, school safety, regular safety. So I thought that if I want to make a difference, it has to be something in the area which really it can impact people's lives, and it's safety.
So like it seems like you've done a lot. I mean, I live in New York. You lived here for a little bit as well. Um, from starting your first business and to what you have now, the businesses you run now, what are the biggest changes have you seen?
Changes as far as the like economical situation in the world, or changes how business operated, or changes just in my life. What kind of changes?
Well, I
And
guess
whatever.
all three. I built mostly towards how,
Mm,
like, how you ran your business when you first started and how you run your business
okay.
now.
Well, like when you run your business, it's always um, implementing the best possible skills you have. One thing that I was very adamant about is I spent a lot of times in my life educating myself, and I stay current on what's going in the world. I take constant courses. I learn. I love learning. My mom, who is a professor in Moscow Technical State, always called me a professional lifelong student, because I believe that it doesn't matter what education you have had in the past, but unless you stay current with the trends and stay involved, especially when dealing with technology, you have to really know what's going on from perspective of developers. And obviously, I'm not a programmer, but I can hopefully understand their language when they talk to me, to how to manage business, to everything that trends that happening right now when it involves to artificial intelligence and utilizing different tools. And this, I mean, it's growing so fast. So unless you are up to speed, or try to be as much as up to speed, or get people around you who are up to speed, it's wouldn't be easy to be competitive in that environment.
Now, the first business was a online business, like an e-commerce
Yeah.
business.
I
Like,
I was
what
just
was like?
Online marketing, yeah, agency.
Online marketing. What was the growth like for that?
Well,
And
it's not.
why did you?
It was the first business that I started myself. So I mean, I obviously been involved in other businesses, but it's the first company that I've started on my own. I mean, that was during the web boom, and that's when a lot of companies were getting into the internet boom, and it was really good area to get into it and learn. Because I always wanted to be in front of the what technologies is available, and I got into that business because I was working for bits.com, which at that time was one of the largest jewelry auctions, and I mean it still exists. And I was running their marketing department, and then actually taught me a lot about marketing and trends. We had really strong team who also taught me a lot from their experiences. And then like when I moved to New York, that's when I decided to start actually online marketing company, transitioning from LA to New York.
What was like the top line revenue for that one?
It was a private information, so I can't really disclose that. It was sold later
Uh,
on.
no problem. No
Yeah.
problem. But like what you're doing now with SGG World, what exactly is that?
So SGG World was I founded it about gosh, almost almost 20 years ago. It was founded in 2006, so it's 18 years ago. And I found it when I first moved to New York because I wanted to combine. I had taking a little bit step back. Uh, my goal was always to get into the corporate America, and I studied finance international business when I was in University of Maryland. And upon my graduation, I received a job offer from American Express Financial Advisors, and sadly enough, it was only two people out of 300. But sadly enough, my attorney basically called me saying that in a finance you cannot qualify for work visa. So I ended up getting my work visa and then my green card through extraordinary talent in modeling. So that career helped me to be a lot more confident, on the stage, to become spokesmodel for a lot of, beauty products or organizations. And so I wanted to, when I came to New York, I wanted to combine the experience I've learned in modeling from being a spokesperson to being more in a finance field, which I have studied and I obviously had a passion for. And so I decided that the best way for me to combine the two would be to do investor relations for public companies, because this way I can learn a lot more about public markets. And also, since my family was involved in the market, in the mining and some oil and gas technologies, I wanted to get into mining industry. So I took a lot of courses in the mining industry in IR, some in oil and gas, and that's what I wanted to do. But in order to be successful in IR, obviously you have to have a Rolodex of investors, right? Otherwise, it's kind of pointless. So when I moved to New York, it took me about a year, but to set up an event planning company. And but not just event planning company, it was doing events for charities to high-end foundational fundraisers. And I joined the board of Best Buddies, which is Kennedy Shriver Foundation. And through that, my first event was, I think, like 2,000 people, if not more, came to the first event. Was Prince George Ballroom. And basically within a year, I really had a really good relationship, a real good Rolodex uh, in uh, in New York. Sadly, 2008 hit then. So, I mean, the event business kind of was, going down. But investor relations and working with the public companies, that was actually a good time to get into that. And, that's where I also made, quite a bit of money after, owning also a lot of real estate in my past. So that's kind of a short time story, because it's a little bit hard to, because I've the life taken me so many different paths. A lot of people just have one job that they've been always been focused on, and they build their career, let's say real estate or whatever it is. I switched from different career to another career and just following my path and my passion.
It seems like a lot of your business are like intertwined. One led to
Oh
one
yeah,
led to another.
definitely. Definitely.
I like like multi conglomerate businesses that have like businesses that maybe like your insurance company, and you might own a car brand, and like they're kind of intertwined and they're kind of like connected to each other where everybody follow a
Mm,
path. Like I feel like you needed investors and you needed like a Rolodex of investors. So you started an event planning company doing
yeah,
events. I think that's probably if you do high end events, it's probably the easiest way to meet
yeah.
a lot of investors pretty quickly.
I agreed, absolutely. And then also being involved in foundations and supporting different charities. I mean, I'm for example, Kick for Life. I've been on their board for I would say about 12 years. It's not a UK charity, but they started focusing on Lesotho in South Africa, and now they spread around South Africa. They built stadiums, restaurants, hotels, and the whole their purpose is to get kids from the streets, from being picked up by the gangs or being in a bad environment, to train them how to play soccer and to see to get them jobs, to get them educated, and then to sponsor them to the one that can qualify to universities on a scholarship for soccer.
Wow. Um, do you think your philanthropy ventures is like propelling your other ventures, like SGG World
Mm.
and the other businesses that you own?
I think it's all like you said. Everything is intertwined, right? So my overall like purpose in life is to help others and to make an impact in the world. And I think like everything that I've been working on and doing, and it's a lot of mistakes, a lot of trials. It's really like been huge ups and downs. But that's what life is about, and that's how you learn the biggest lessons. So the purpose is to uh, not only to do stuff through my businesses, but also being able maybe to share some of my personal story and help people to overcome the challenges that they are facing. Because it's hard to do it alone, and sometimes having a mentor, having a support from somebody who knows what you're talking about, or somebody who's been through that, it really helps to get through the certain hardships.
If we say that you were 20 years old again and you're starting in this day and age, what business would you start?
I would probably, well, I think the mistake from the business point of view that I did and that I would do, because in my early 20s, my first house I bought, as I mentioned, at like around 24, and then I bought income properties. So, but not having enough, knowledge and not having a proper mentors in that space, I did not really know what I was doing. So I also did not have a really long-term vision in that. So I ended up over leveraging myself. And when 2008, I basically ended up losing the portfolio. So if I went back and I knew, what's if I would find the right mentors. I would find somebody to guide me through. So I make less mistakes and would avoid losing a lot of money on that.
So you would still go back into real estate, you would just do it better.
Real estate is a really good way to do it. Not, I wouldn't do it full time because it's a good foundation. But being entrepreneur in heart, that's not real estate. Real estate is just good, something that you grow long term.
Like a passive
But
income.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And for me, but I would still figure out how to create companies and see. I mean, doing the online marketing in my 20s and the boom. I mean, that was really a good way to get started. So that I would not change at all.
What is the like what is the most recent thing you learn now that is like really valuable? Like you're learning right now.
Uh, I would say sometimes life is really just, if you don't learn the lesson first and second time, it just has a ability of knocking into your head over and over again until you learn it. So I think the lesson I'm still learning right now are that came through me throughout my life, and those are the lesson that number one, just don't settle, just follow your dreams and do the right thing and work hard. Sometimes when I see on Instagram and on social media, people saying, oh, just buy our course, you work for 2 hours a week and you'll make tons of money. It doesn't work this way. And, it's sad for me to see that people actually follow that, because to achieve really anything in life, I mean, you really have to put your heart and your soul to it, your time into it, education, And it's yin and yang. You get the input equals your output. So whatever you put out, that's what you actually, the universe brings you to you. So I think that's it's kind of maybe the message or the lesson that there's no shortcuts in this life. You really have to work hard to get what you want.
Yeah, I feel like the barrier of entry for entrepreneurs or starting a business is like really easy compared to what it was back in the day. And I
Mhm.
think it led into a lot of shortcuts and a lot of
Mhm.
people believing that oh, I can make $1 million right away, or I can be successful like in less than 2 months. And the reality of that is extremely slim, less than 1%. And if you do get it, um, on that lottery success, you won't even be able to maintain it because the truth is, you know nothing. You don't even know how to actually operate or run a business or manage it.
Yeah.
It's no difference from when somebody gets passed down an inheritance that they didn't earn. They're more
Yeah.
likely to use it, or somebody get money that they didn't earn. They're more likely to lose that. And I think we have a society that
Mhm.
promotes shortcuts, and that's not really good.
No, no, you're 100% right, Kenny. And like you mentioned, lottery. The statistic about the lottery is what's like less than 5% actually of the people who get the lottery is able to keep. It's the don't know exact number, but it's actually pretty low because they're not prepared to, and they don't have enough knowledge to do it. And another example, being in the family office world and speaking to a lot of families and speaking to a lot of advisors to families, especially advisors to the second generation, third generation, younger kids. Most of the families, they think that, oh, like they come from the rich parents. They don't pay for stuff. They make their kids work for it and they get them inheritance, like after they have proven themselves. So they'll pay for their university if they'll get into the good schools. If they have a business and they prepare the proposal and this, that might support them is doing investment in their business. If they're already studying somewhere, they might have to pay for the rent. But until that generation is proved themselves that they can provide the value to the family, a lot of times they don't get any money until they do it. So
Oh,
and
that's
that's and
a
that's actually a pretty big misconception in a lot of family office space, because especially living in Beverly Hills, you hear the stories. Like I did the Beverly Hills Police Academy, and
yeah.
we were talking about that some of the families just was giving kids who barely got their license. There were two cases. One kid got Lamborghini at 16. Well, next week he killed somebody, run over person. And then another person was the G-Wagon, which was like really souped up one. Same thing. I mean, like, he ran into the car and killed the passengers in the car. So, that's, you see that sometimes in Beverly Hills, but, this is not really as normal. And this is really sad. And I really think that, families with a lot of money should reconsider go doing gifts like that, because it's usually leads to disasters and later on their lives as well.
No, being in that kind of world, there's like major consequences to it because you do feel invincible when you have that kind of money.
Hmm.
But in that space, that family office space, and dealing with high net worth individual, where do you see like people putting their money to like invest for the future, like creating that general wealth income?
Well, a lot of families are real estate families. That's, I would say, majority of the families have a big portfolio in the real estate. There's more and more people, families coming into technology space, more growth than early, because early is really more focused on VC funds. But I have been seeing, increasing number of families who create their own VC funds, supporting themselves and invest in money. And that's kind of been our model as well. We have our venture studio that's Cita Labs, and we've been investing, incubating, creating SPVs through that venture studios. We have Cita Corp, which is a public company on OTCQB, where we do a lot of developments out of that, and start taking companies to the market until they go to the certain level. So we're building that up. So, but the idea of having a family office or having a venture studio or a venture fund is getting more and more popular. Our system is a little bit different just because we created our own ecosystem between the public entity, because venture studios, and creating SPVs or that we either take public or find other exits for them. And those SPVs either have spin-off technologies that we do, or we do just bring a lot of technologies on the global scale into one company, into SPV, and then we spin it off. Like, for instance, one of our companies that we took technologies out of SITA that was more on a military-based compression technology. It's Reticulate Micro, and they are going public in the next, hopefully, like a couple of weeks. That's been our system and our model, and we see a lot of more families just focusing on early stage.
Oh, wow. So like they're taking, and how long does that payoff usually take? Because doesn't it take
All
like
over the place.
oh, okay. It's like
All over the
what's the
place.
shortest
Well,
time frame?
the shortest time when, because we're when you develop a product, when you actually have a team of developing something, let's say it takes you a year to develop a software that can be get to the minimum viable product, but then you still have testing that almost takes the same amount of time. Then you go to sales, marketing. So no matter how you look at it, it's a 3-year span.
Well, so
Mm.
usually like what is like the barrier of entry for those funds for families to get in, like to be a part of those funds?
Well, it's part of the VC funds.
Yeah.
There's well, some of the funds are only so before, people would take VC funds will take any money they can get. Like, money is money right now, especially for the VC funds who have some of the track record. They're looking more for investors who can be more strategics for them. So they are being a little bit more picky about the money. So what I've noticed, it's kind of like a gap in VC world right now, because there's so evaluation of different companies are so high that it's almost doesn't make sense for a lot of companies to get into it on the growth level. So that's why a lot of VC funds, I mean, actually, large VC funds, some of them I know are returning money to their investors, because saying we cannot even employ the funds in the way that we can guarantee, we can generate the return that we're used to it. We can, that we feel comfortable providing to our investors. So right now, with this gap between the valuation of the companies and the money available, something has to change a little bit. But right now, I see a lot of dry powder that people are sitting for and waiting on to see what's going to happen politically in the world, what's going to happen with valuation, with technologies, with AI, with with global political situation, and just in the companies. So some companies have a really hard time raising money, and a lot of investors do not want to deploy any funds. So it's a gap right now.
What do you think is going to be able to fix that gap?
I think just time, because I think a lot of companies are waiting out to see what's going to happen in elections, even though, I mean, sometimes I don't even know how much it's going to be. I'm just honestly staying out of politics completely. I'm just focusing on the business aspect, and whatever happens, we'll be able to pivot into the right direction. But I think a lot of companies are still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen.
So we're like technology is like the biggest, I'll say probably right now the biggest in the world. Everybody's trying to get into the new product, new
Hmm.
design, whatever, new platforms of technology. Um, but everything's starting to seem like they're starting to look similar. Um, everybody's starting to do the same. How are we getting more innovative, and where are you guys finding the research for this new early stage technology that's different from everything else?
Network, personal network. Being in, I've spoken and traveled around so many conferences, so I have a really large network of the people in the companies, and it has to be also a trusted network, because like on LinkedIn, people who I don't know coming to me, presenting their deals. But I mean, a lot of times they don't even bother kind of to see what's focus I am in. So that's kind of, like if you actually try to approach somebody, at least do the research on what they're working on, because it's front and center on my LinkedIn profile. But in general, unless it's a vetted circle that we worked with before, came from the relationship we already know, we probably rarely we work with them, but we always have to do a lot more due diligence. But I still go through my LinkedIn profile. I still do look at the deals that are sent to me, and if something interesting, I will respond and we'll do our due diligence. I mean, actually, one of the partnership just we signed up the partnership agreement is with company from Norway, and it's called Be Safe, and we connected through LinkedIn because they are doing a safety and security platform, and that's I'm developing right now. Well, not but I personally involved in developing with school safety and technology, having two boys. And so that's something really passionate to my heart, and to finding other technologies that do similar things and integrating them to really create the product that would be the most efficient in any horrible situation, like school shooting, when every single second counts. And if we can find out and plug together technologies that will help save lives and will help to identify those shooters, or to create, to lock down those, then we're doing something right. So because I think a lot of lives could have been saved if they had a proper technologies in place.
Now that I know it's like medicine, education, communication, that's what you guys are main focused on. Am I
Yeah, not
correct?
not, not medicine. I don't do medicine. Yeah,
Okay, so it's education and communication.
more like communication. We work with law enforcement, schools, and just other areas. Cybersecurity, some projects, and some streaming, some just yeah, communication
I
platforms.
know cybersecurity is one of the other things that are like huge, huge. Every even people
Yeah.
that I know like are taking courses to be in the cybersecurity space, and I know people are working on different cybersecurity technology that protects the
Mhm.
country or whatever country they're from. Um, with new technologies for cybersecurity, it seems like more and more people are also coming ways to crack those technologies as well. It's like a combative world. It's like, how do you guys?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the quantum computing, right? People are always saying, okay, so how do we protect ourselves? And that's always been conversation in the crypto space as well. Like once the quantum computer, first of all, they already do exist, and if you look at the big banks, they do pretty much the same level of development. So as the quantum computing progresses to hack, the banks are protecting themselves against that hack, and usually they hire hackers and the developers to test their system to the fullest. And but also to do to do any hacking in quantum computing, it takes insane amount of power, time, and money. So it's not like they're going to go targeting individual accounts or even like large accounts. It just would not make sense. And the institution and big banks, I mean, they are protected, or the
Yeah, it's one of those. It's the reason why I asked is one of those spaces that I feel like everybody's getting into.
yeah.
Communication is another space. Um,
But I
just
see,
that's
like,
also in the
yeah.
technology space as well.
Yeah. Well, I see, like, when like one of technologies is compression, right? So if you have a really state of the art compression, then and you have to have a player that's basically on the other side, that itself provides a really high end military encryption, and it's really hard to break into it. So there's a lot of ways, and we're involved in it in many ways. But we're always looking for deep tech to cutting edge technologies, paradigm shifting technologies in this space that we can combine with something that we already have, so we can create the company that utilizes several technologies and take it to the market combined together.
Yeah, but we're kind of coming close on time. I just want to say I appreciate you coming on here.
Thanks
I
for having
learned
me, Kenny.
I learned a tremendous a lot about your space and single families and what you're doing. I think what you're doing is amazing. Definitely in the education and the cybersecurity space. I think that is like kind of the focus of the world, right now. Cybersecurity technology, definitely with, stuff like Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff where people's information, data is getting transferred every day. Um, so I can see why a lot of people and families will want to, that's extremely attractive space to be in.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, do you have like anything you would want to say to the audience? Because most of them are like entrepreneurs, investors, business people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn, and if you have any questions, you can shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Um, and my personal website is my first and last name.com, nataliasokolova.com. My or info Natalia at cytta.com. That's business. So that's how you can reach me if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Appreciating. And everybody that's out there watching and listening, thank you.
Thanks, Kenny. Thank